Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Measuring and Managing Company Impact, hosted by the Council for Inclusive Capitalism in collaboration with BLab. My name is Meredith Sumter, and I am the CEO of the Council for Inclusive Capitalism, and it's a real honor to have you with us and to be joined by colleagues from BLab East Africa, as well as BLab Southeast Asia, to explore BLab's B Impact Assessment, a free online resource that enables businesses to measure and manage our social and environmental performance. The B Impact Assessment tool provides an easy-to-use, insightful, and standardized framework for evaluating and improving your business's impact on stakeholders. It has been used by more than 150 businesses, ranging from small enterprises to large multinationals across a variety of sectors throughout the world. Today's webinar will provide an introduction to the B Impact Assessment, in addition to sharing the Council for Inclusive Capitalism and our commitments platform as a place to share out the actions that companies in the BLab Global Network and beyond are taking to foster greater inclusivity and sustainability in our organizations. Today's session will be followed by another workshop early next year that will explore use of the B Impact Assessment tool in greater depth. But before we get started, a few housekeeping items. First, this webinar will be recorded. We will be sharing written highlights of today's session, along with a recording of the presentation portion of today's session. The Q&A and discussion portions will not be made public. Second, we invite you to share your questions by using the Q&A function in Zoom. And we very much look forward to addressing your questions and feedback during our time together today. And then lastly, at the end of today's event, we will share with you a short survey to get your feedback on the webinar and to take any additional questions that you might have. But before I turn to my collaborators with BLab, a bit of background on the Council for Inclusive Capitalism. We are a global community of leaders in business, investment, and public sector organizations that are working to extend the benefits of our economic system to all people while protecting the planet. Our membership primarily consists of stewards, and these are leaders of companies of all sizes across sectors and regions. Council members share on our platform at inclusivecapitalism.com the actions that they are taking to advance inclusive and sustainable business practices. Our members' actions are mapped to the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals, as well as the World Economic Forum's Pillars for Sustainable Value Creation. And to date, our community includes more than 330 CEO members who are putting forth more than 640 concrete actions that demonstrate the practice of inclusive capitalism for their business peers to learn from. We believe at the Council that sharing member actions deepens our capacity to understand and measure impact, to disseminate best practices, and to spur our global business and investment peers toward their own inclusive and sustainable actions. We also believe that it's critical to partner with allied organizations such as BLab, who recognize the importance of harnessing the power of the private sector to advance a capitalism that is more inclusive and sustainable. If you're not yet a member of the Council, we invite you to join us to share out your actions at inclusivecapitalism.com and to explore the resources put forth by our allies and partners such as BLab to advance your impact. More than ever, our employees, our customers, and the broader public expect this kind of business leadership. And companies are responding by ramping up their sustainability practices and adopting standards and metrics that enable them to make decisions for their businesses to benefit a broader range of stakeholders. Tools like the B Impact Assessment are critical in helping business leaders navigate this rapidly shifting landscape and improve their impact on all stakeholders that they engage. The B Impact Assessment is a performance management and evaluation resource. It's designed to enable you to identify pragmatic actions you can take and concrete improvements you can make to your business's operations. The tool also importantly aligns with the Global Reporting Initiative's global standards for sustainability reporting, which allows both internal and external stakeholders to recognize the work that your company is doing to improve your impact and performance. So it's now my pleasure to introduce Lucy Muigai, who is the Chief Executive Director of BLab East and Southern Africa. Lucy brings 15 years of business experience in finance and operational roles across sectors, including oil and gas, logistics, and insurance. She is expert at working with leading organizations in the development space so that businesses succeed profitably while having a positive impact on all their stakeholders. Lucy, over to you.
Thank you so much, Meredith. And I'm very excited to be here to speak to all of you. My name is Lucy Muigai. I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya, and I am the CEO of BLab in East Africa. Very excited to be here and to join all of you here to learn more about the work that we do. Just a quick one. Are we sharing the slides? If you go back a slide. Great, so businesses. Slide 3. Apologies. Thank you. Apologies for that. So businesses in the 20th century were extractive, exclusive, and focused solely on the maximization of profit for shareholders. Now we are witnessing a cultural shift, a global cultural shift to harness the power of business to help address our society's greatest challenges. Businesses are now taking a stand to become regenerative, inclusive, and for the benefit of all stakeholders. Next slide. From this illustration, we can see that consumers now make decisions based on how brands treat their people, how they treat the environment, and how they support the communities that these brands are operating. The last 20 years, we have been focused on getting businesses to provide good quality products. Hence, all these certifications that were around. We're looking at Fair Trade, Rainforest Alliance, and WaterView. Building upon all the work that was done by these systems, we have been able to create a holistic certification that looks at the entire company. The BCorp certification is actually a certification that is recognized globally. BLab was founded in 2007. We are a not-for-profit supporting a global movement of people using business as a force for good. BLab's vision is of an inclusive, equitable, and regenerative economic system for all people and the planet. From this illustration, you can see that BLab's network is global and spread across the world. Depending on where your company's operations are located, there is a global partner to support you. Our work in East Africa was founded in 2017. BLab East Africa is a not-for-profit organization whose mission is to redefine business success in Africa to include a positive impact of people and planet, not just for profit. Together with our global network, we create best-in-class standards, policies, and tools for businesses. And we also certify companies known as B corporations who are leading the way. Our work in Southeast Asia commenced in 2018, and Southeast Asia has one of the fastest regions growth, with about 25 certified B Corps and an annual revenue of $1.4 billion. As you can see from this illustration, there are 26 B Corps across ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, and we have around 24 at Singapore, BLab, 24 B Corps in Singapore. In East Africa, we have created a lot of impact. We have over 2,900 companies across East and South Africa using our tools that we are going to discuss in more detail, the B Impact Assessment and the SDG Action Manager. We have trained, we have partnered and collaborated with accelerators, incubators, and other organizations to train over 300 entrepreneurs on sustainable business practices. We have over 50 B Corps across Africa, and we have rolled out over 40 impact management programs across Africa using our various partners and based on their needs. So this slide shows us our B Corp community in Africa. As you can see, majority of our B Corps are based in East Africa. And I will stop here and say B Corp certification, any company, depending, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, you can actually certify as a B Corp. We have 36 B Corps in East Africa. We have 15 B Corps in Southern Africa. And our West Africa community is growing quite fast right now with 5 B Corps at the moment. Impact measurement and management. So we have our tools, as I mentioned, we have the B Impact Assessment. This is a free confidential platform that companies can use to be able to measure and manage their impact for their operations. Here we look at the impact that you're creating on your governance practices, on your workers, on your community, customers, and the environment. We also have another tool known as the SDG Action Manager, where companies, we collaborated with the UN Global Compact, and it has been in operations for the last 3 years. It brings together BLab's, the B Impact Assessment, and the UNGC 10 principles. And here organizations would be able to use the SDG Action Manager to be able to enable meaningful business action through self-assessment, benchmarking, and improvement towards the sustainable development goals. We also certify organizations as B corporations. And as we are going to discuss in more detail, a certified B Corp is a company that has met a high standard of social and environmental performance, transparency, and accountability. So I'll hand over to my colleague, Grace Wachori, to take us through the value proposition for BLab.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Meredith, do you want to say something before I take over?
No, just to welcome you very much, Grace, and just to note that you work concretely to support businesses in their journey towards becoming sustainable, and that prior to joining BLab, you have trained community groups on entrepreneurship and wellness at Legato International, an organization that you founded. Before turning to you, Grace, to really walk us through the B Impact Assessment, along with Yudi, I just want to note a couple of things that Lucy made note of. One, this is about redefining success in business, as well as, I think, redefining for our organizations and our companies, redefining the value that we produce, but doing so in ways that are recognized and rewarded by the existing standards that are out there, which is why I think the BLab Impact Assessment Tool and the SDG Action Manager are so important, that you're mapping the actions and the standards that companies that use the Impact Assessment Tool are having and taking in ways that advance the SDGs, in ways that advance the standards of social and environmental performance that companies globally are aspiring to. So that network effect that BLab offers for those that are seeking to be B corporations is really important. And the B Impact Assessment Tool, Grace, as you will note, I'm sure, is the critical company evaluation and performance impact tool that companies can use, whatever region that they're in and whatever sector that they operate in. This tool is adaptable for use to help companies understand and improve their impact. So thank you very much, Grace, for taking this discussion forward.
Absolutely. Thank you, Meredith. Lucy has taken us through what BLab is all about and how is it of benefit to you is a question that we're all here to talk about. As BLab, we help you to align your company design to create social impact, to create environmental impact, and also economic impact through what we call impact business models and operational practices. These are frameworks that you put into place that allow you to actually have impact while at the same time being able to have purpose. Please put the slides back on. You're going to continue going on. And what this helps you is to be able to streamline your operations every day. You are able to actually increase your efficiency as an organization. You are able to enhance your human resource base. You're able to create that operational cost savings that is needed internally, and thereby giving you a risk management profile for your organization. But looking outwardly, you're able to actually attract talent that is able to meet the threshold. For example, that we know very well here in Africa for ourselves is that some companies here will be remitting taxes, will be cutting taxes from their staff's pay slips, but does not actually remit it to government. And I know for you who are in the developed world, that is out of this world, but it does happen here. And therefore, a talent knows that if I work for a B Corp certified company, it is being held to a higher accountability measure, and thereby being the taxes are remitted, they have professional development plans in place, and therefore they'll be treated well. Even as BLab, through the B Corp community, we support our B Corps with engagement services that actually trickle down to their talents. We are also able to help our businesses be able to increase their brand value, to increase that awareness that they have, so that they are actually creating loyalty within their customer base, within their consumers base, within their workers. And by creating that loyalty, because of how you are able to actually drive the impact beyond internal to the external stakeholders, you're able to actually create longevity for yourself as an organization, and therefore you're able to create sustainability for that business. It also helps you to be able to have better decision-making within your organization as you're being held to a standard that is internationally acclaimed. Now, as BLab, how do we make this possible for you? It's through our tools that Lucy mentioned, the B Impact Assessment tool that we'll be going through today, and Lucy will be able to take you into detail about what that is, but also another tool called the SDG Action Manager, the Sustainable Development Goals Manager. And this tool helps businesses to be able to identify by just inputting their business profile what actual SDGs they're already working on, and being able to give them a risk management profile based on that initial profile. And when that happens, they are also able to choose SDGs that they want to work with as an organization, put in some goals, and then track your progress with that. As Lucy mentioned, this tool has been created in collaboration with the United Nations Global Compact under their 10 principles. So this tool is very important. And then we have a vast network of companies that we work with through the global network. So when you are able, what BLab does for you is that you're able to join a global community of leaders that are across our whole globe. And how that happens is we have a platform called the Beehive, which is more like a LinkedIn for B Corps. And therefore, you're able to ping any B Corp across the world. We have about more than 5,000 B Corps now across the world. We have a couple that are publicly listed on there. We have a couple that have the benefit corporation legislation going. And so for whatever need it is that you would want to be able to create these linkages, these networks, you'll be able to do that through that. platform called the Beehive. Another thing that BLab will do for you as a business is to be able to benchmark your impact against the peers that have actually undertaken utilized the tool. So you'll be able to tell, how am I performing when I'm measuring myself against companies in the same industry, in the same market, with the same employees, and even within the same revenue brackets. And therefore showing you what will be your improvement areas, and then giving you an opportunity to actually set goals on the actual tool, as you will see, and be able to increase that, increase your impact rather. Now, the validation that happens, the verification that happens for BCorp certification is done by a third party. We have a subsidiary and a BLab called the Standards Trust, and we have a thick Chinese wall because we want to give it credibility. And by that validation, we are able to actually give you the trust and credibility that you need for your organization, and thereby differentiating yourself from your competitors. In the market, you're able to attract and engage talent, like I said. Through our legal amendments that I will talk about in a bit, you're able to actually protect the mission that you have set out for your organization. Now, this mission is not just about economic impact. It's also a mission that is there to be able to deliver social and environmental impact. Even while sometimes we think our businesses might be quite commercial, through the impact business models, we're able to see opportunities that lie for us to be able to align and even add on social and environmental impact, and thereby protecting it with a legal amendment that cements and crystallizes that ideology, not just at the director level, but at the company level, the shareholder level, to ensure that this mission really outruns any changes in management or acquisitions and the like. Finally, we are able to actually help our BCorps raise capital because they already have done a bit of the due diligence required for this process, required for access to finance processes through the verification process. But we also continually are seeing impact investors coming into to BLab and asking us, so what businesses do you have? We're willing to give this capital to BCorp. So it gives the business the networks, the frameworks that they need altogether. You can go to the next slide. Now, what do you need to do to be able to adopt the BCorp certification or even utilization of our tools? For one to be certified, you must be a registered for-profit business, because we only certify for-profit businesses. And this is because they must be able to deliver profit as well as purpose. You must have 1 year of operations, because verification is based on the last physical year. We verify what you've already been doing it to attest it as correct and complete, and not what you will do in the future. You must be able to adapt the legal accountability or the legal pathway that I just talked about. Recertification happens every 3 years. And no, it's not an easier process. It's usually a harder process because your company is bigger. You probably piloted quite a bit. You have added subsidiaries. You have more employees. So the due process is quite thorough than the initial time, but it is done every 3 years. You have to be able to pay an annual certification fee that is pegged on your revenues. So we have predetermined tiers of annual certification fees that is pegged on your revenues. The first tier is usually $0 to about $50,000 in revenues, and we charge a corresponding fee, a certification fee, annual certification fee of $300. So quite affordable depending on your revenues. And the last requirement we have is that you must have a majority of your revenues as earned incomes. You might have philanthropy, you might have some grant revenues that are coming in, but for you to qualify for this, the majority of your revenues have to be earned incomes to balance that profit and purpose. Now, next slide, the 3 key buckets that you need for your business is the legal accountability. Next slide, please. Legal accountability, that is in the middle bucket. In the first bucket, we have the social and environmental performance. Through the B impact assessment, you must get a verified score of 80 points out of 200 points. Sometimes it sounds like it easy. I promise you it's not. It's a lot of verification work, but it is very possible to get to 80. I mean, 5,000 companies have been able to do it. Then the legal framework is either, it has a couple of different pathways. So in Kenya, we have been able to have some language that can be adopted into the articles of association. And what we have companies do is integrate that and launch it with the registrar of companies. In other parts of the world, including Rwanda, we've been able to pass a legislation where you're able to actually register your company as a benefit corporation. This is common in the United States. This is common in Europe. but in Africa, we've been able to do this in Rwanda. And where we do not have these two pathways, we sign a BCorp statement. And that statement has the same language to say that this is a core mission of stakeholder capitalism and not shareholder capitalism. Now, that bucket that you must be able to apply for your company to be able to be a BCorp certified company is that you must be transparent about your performance. Through the B Impact report, you must make your score transparent by publishing it on the BCorp publicly facing directory. Here, we do not publish your answers. We only publish your score, your overall score, the 80 plus verified score, but also every score that you attain under every impact area. So you must be able to do these three things: social and environmental performance through the B Impact assessment tool, accountability by adopting a legal framework, and being able to communicate, to be transparent about your performance in this process. Now, I will hand it over to Yuthi here, who is going to take us through an in-depth overview of the B Impact assessment tool that will help you configure, understand what the tool covers, the 5 impact areas that I'm talking about, the representation of your stakeholder capitalism. But before I do that, a lot of times we wonder, how then do I conceptualize the idea of impact? What is sustainability? In the next slide. So when you think about what is sustainability, we want to think about the sweet spot of what economic, social, and environmental impact is. In that sweet spot, we must be able to bring all these processes together so that you're able to report on your impact. Now, a lot of times we think that impact is only about the end product, but really it's not about the end product only. You have to think about the consideration throughout your value chain, from when you have your raw materials to how you work them through until they are a product that is ready for selling, whether it's a product, whether it's a service. And through that, you're able to actually see opportunities along that value chain that will be representative of your stakeholders on how you can actually be able to deliver on sustainability. So I'll give it back to Meredith. Thank you very much.
No, thank you so much, Grace. And before we turn to Yuthi Pradhana, who is actually going to walk us through the B Impact assessment, a question for you, Grace. For those of the attendees to this webinar that are not yet council members and perhaps are not yet B Corps, are they able to make use of the B Impact assessment, even if they are not a certified B Corporation or on a pathway to be a certified B Corporation?
Thank you, Meredith, for that question. Absolutely. Like Lucy mentioned, our tools are completely free. You do not need any membership to use the tools. So once the link is shared with you, you only need to register, make an account, put in your business profile, and then it will actually give you access to the tool. So the tool starts as a self-assessment. Then once you have used the B Impact Assessment tool as a self-assessment, this is a landing page where you need to create an account. And once you have this page, then it will lead you to a couple other tracking questions asking you about what market are you in, what is the size of your company, what is the industry that you're in and the sub-industry. Once you get that right, and then it exposes you to the actual tool where you can be able to measure. Again, you start as a self-assessment. So you put in all the answers that you think will be applicable. The catch here, though, is that if you decide to verify and submit your assessment for verification, you must be able to support all the answers that you put. So we encourage you, use it as a learning tool. And once you're ready for submission, ensure that you can be able to support every answer that you put in on there with documentation while it is requested. So the tools are free, they're accessible to everyone. And there's a link on the chat here.
Oh, thank you so much. And that's an important point, Grace. And here at the council, from our perspective, it's so important for companies to use these tools to be able to begin to understand, measure, and manage your own impact. But at the council, we exist for companies to be able to share the actions that they are taking to be able to improve their impact across sectors and geographies, finding that that's an important way for companies to learn from one another, the different ways that private sector leadership can operationalize a more inclusive and sustainable form of capitalism through looking at and understanding the impact that companies are having through the concrete actions that they are taking, which is why we appreciate our collaboration with BLab to provide our broader global private sector following access to this tool, awareness of this tool, so they can start their journey, if they haven't started already, to understanding, measuring, and managing their impact. Yudi, let's go to you. I'm very excited to have you join us. Yudi Pradhana, who is the executive director for the B Market Builder in Southeast Asia. He leads the B Corp movement across the region. He brings 15 years of experience in multinational corporations, family foundations, and sustainability consulting. And he's going to walk us through how to use the impact assessment tool to understand and strengthen company operational activity and performance. Yudi, over to you.
Thank you, Meredith. Hi, everyone. So hello from Jakarta, the Big Durian. So I'm going to walk through everyone. So yeah, I think it's as easy as creating your own email. You can see here, I put CIC test account. I see most of the registrants from the United States. And then let's pick Washington. I mean, you have all of these options. Let's put Washington, and then again, we will also ask for your fiscal year and year date. So that's just for the sake of example, I'm putting here the 31st December 2021. Okay. Again, this is catered to according to your geographical countries, sectors, and state, province, and so on and so forth. Okay. Click continue. Okay, sector. I see a lot of you guys are coming from the finance. So let's see what we call service with minor environmental footprint. Industry category, let's see some, let's take a look. Let's, again, for sake of example, information communication technology, and set the industry, let's say social networks or info sharing, okay? You press continue. Okay, we start with numbers of employee. Again, for the sake of example, 50 to 249, and my position will be employee at or founder at company. Okay, just some basic information that is catered to your sectors, to your industry, and then as easy as that, we are deep diving directly to the BIA itself. See. So let me go through the function. We see here the B impact assessment. We have 5 impact area. We have governance, workers, community, environment, customer, and a disclosure questionnaire. Okay. Overall, the B impact assessment is a free tool for you to take a look and then select those that really corresponds to your business. Let's dive in a bit to governance. We will have questions like level of impact focus, how does your company approach in creating positive impact, mission statement characteristics, so on and so forth, right? And the cool thing about it is that we have what we call the learn more function. This is like an internal Wikipedia of the impact assessment, where you can have explanation and implementation of the set of the questions, right? So yeah, we go here, and then again, the most important thing is number 1 is for your company to select the correct industry and sectors. Okay, and yeah, let's play around and then use this team member section because you would have you can invite as many, up to 15, if I'm not mistaken, up to 15 colleagues to work together in doing the assessment. So the best practices is for your HR to do the worker section, your corporate secretary to do the governance, your environment to do the environment, and so on and so forth. Okay. So again, let me go back to the impact areas. We have governance, workers, community, environment, customers, and so on and so forth. And the platform will cater the question according to your sector or your industry. For example, because initially we choose the IT sector, so the environment wouldn't have as much as questions, right? So let's begin. Environment, talking about facilities, environmental management, air and climate, your scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, and so on and so forth. Okay. And then we see here, back to dashboard. So let's key in some questions, some answers. Okay, let's level impact focus, creating positive. I'm going to select some question, and then you can see that the scoring will be generated automatically, right? So let's see, we answered randomly some questions here, and then we can see that, yeah, we already have one score, right? So to get certified, your company needs to score at least 80 scores, okay? 80.1 will be acceptable, right? So upon your company certifying for 80, let me share you another screen. This is a test account that we have already achieved 81.1. So your company will eligible to certify. There will be a button showing that you can start the certification process. Okay, so let me go here. When you've answered the question, it will turn in accordance to the color. Orange for governance, and then workers. Let's go to the worker sections. Worker section will be blue, and then you will have all these questions, Q&A through the software. And again, this is a tool. So let's see. Okay. Let's see one of the options here. Let's see. Handling hazardous materials. So let's say your company is in the automation sector, and then saying, okay, your company only scores so much, and let's, for example, only score these two, and then you will be, I think the tool will remind you, oh, okay, I haven't had any hazardous material training going on, so yeah, I will choose this, and then you are able to do some improvement while you are doing the BIA. So again, we have one company in Singapore that basically they are bankers having zero knowledge about food and snacks, but they have a passion for providing healthy snacks and beverages. And what they do is that they apply for BCorp certification and then build their business on top of this tool. And then, so for example, they don't know anything about employment. So again, using our tool, they will know, oh, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to implement that, and this is working really well. Okay, so they built their business and a successful business on top of the BIA tools. Hence, they get certified, and then already within months after their certification, they have very good business from Changi Airport, from famous hotel chain, simply because these prominent companies already know about BCorp. And then I think having that BCorp certification and BCorp logo not only strengthen your sustainability aspect, but also get your foot at certain doors, right? Okay. So let me go through a bit. We have governance, workers, community, so on and so forth. In a total, you will have to answer around 200 questions. I know 200 is a lot, but in most cases, even my company, we get certified within 4 to 6 months, right? So it's definitely up to it depends on the complexity of your sector. Some company do this within 10 months. Some company do this in 10 weeks. You can have it in 10 days. It's really up to your team to gather around and then doing the BIA. Okay. So
I'm so sorry. Can I ask a quick question there? Just
sure.
A clarifying question. And that is, and we have a question from Audrey Treasure, who hails from Cincinnati here in the United States. So in terms of the amount of time that it takes to use the B impact assessment and recognizing 200 questions that you need to score at least 80
Yes.
to be able to be certified as a B corporation. But can you speak to if a company, if they just want to use the impact assessment tool just to begin to understand what their impact is, can you speak to how much time that they should plan to take to complete that impact assessment, as well as from BLab's perspective, where do companies start typically in using the B impact assessment in a way that gets them on their journey?
Awesome. That is also one of the key area that we need to, we love to share. Internally, we call demystifying the B impact assessment process, because people will say, it's just, it's just another certification, but eventually it's a tool to help your business. So we have, regarding timeline, again, normally it would take, B Market Builder Southeast Asia are handling quite a prominent company at the moment. So it would usually take a company, we're talking about, Danone size company, 3 to 4 months to have everything ready and then score at minimum of 80. However, we do encounter some companies getting certified, and then they told to us, hey, you know what? We're going to postpone our certification. And then naturally, we're very curious. Then we ask why? Because your tools are so good, we are going to pause our certification and implement those things that we learned from the tool. And then we're very happy, because that is also one of our theory of change. Regardless you wanted to certify or not, our tool, it's kind of a gathering point where we have this wide array of menus for company to get to implement best practices in sustainability. I hope I answered your questions.
No, it doesn't. Just a follow-up question. If I am a small company, how can I understand how to make best use of this tool vis-a-vis my needs and abilities are different than, let's say, a Danone, right? A very large multinational company. How does the B impact assessment account for different sizes of companies?
Okay, so again, in the very, very first part, you would have some very initial questions. For example, numbers of employee, 0 to 5, and then 5 to 10, and then the amount accumulated. So the question for 0 to 5 employee would be very, very different from the 50 to 249 numbers of employees. So that's where you measure, you gauge the questions. Okay.
That's very important. So there's a different questions depending upon the size of a company, recognizing that capacity for implementation would be quite different. Excellent.
Awesome. So yeah, I think we have another questions here, or you want me to just share the platform or the tools? So I think again, everyone can make their own and then try their own later on after the webinar. Feel free to ask us directly, right?
So Yuri, I think we'll turn to we have one from Mitchell that we'll share here in just a moment. But are there any other aspects of the B impact assessment tool that you'd like to share with our attendees before we formally turn to Q&A?
Okay, so think of the BIA as a Swiss knife. It has a lot of function. One of which that we are very keen to introduce is what we call the SDG Action Manager. So a lot of platform, GRI, SASB, TCFD all say that they do comply with the Action Manager, correct? But as far as we know, only one platform having a legal agreement with United Global Compact. What happened is that in 2021, United Global Compact and BLab Global actually collaborate together and then make the SDG Action Manager. Again, this is a tool for free where the SDG Action Manager is built on top of the machine learning for BIA, in which any company, big, small, in any across industry, can use the tool to measure how would they align with the 17 SDGs. They would, number one, they could know which out of the 17 SDG, which one spoke to them the most. And number two, they will measure, okay, your alignment is, within those SDGs, and then you can benchmark your own achievement as well as benchmark on industry on how have you aligned with the SDGs. Again, it's built upon the machine, the same platform, and then again you can use it for free. And even you can use only the SDG Action Manager. You don't have to finish the BIA itself. Okay, and I think and let me pause here, and then happy to answer some questions.
Yudi, thank you so much, as well as thanks to Lucy and Grace for introducing, as part of this webinar, both the B Impact Assessment as well as helping us understand additional tools such as the SDG Action Manager, which helps us as companies get concrete on how we can design practices within our companies that would advance particular SDGs. And at the council, we would invite you also to share the concrete actions that you're taking for your peers across sectors to truly learn from. So thanks so much. We're going to take a next question from Mitchell, but as we do ask the question, Yudi, could you go back to the B Impact Assessment landing page? I have an additional question for you there. So Mitchell asks, he knows that he is connected to several companies that are C Corps or S Corps, but hold the values of a B Corp. And the question is, how is this regarded in the broader business community? Can these larger companies be certified without using the B Corp vehicle?
Okay, happy to have to answer that. So at the moment, as far as we know, the BLab, the B Corp certification has yet to have any formal collaboration with the aforementioned C and S Corp companies. However, we are forging a very, very active partnership across the sustainability platform and institutions. And for example, I just showed you the collaboration between B Impact Assessment and SDG. Also, last year we have a formal collaboration with GRI. So any company not yet getting B Corp certified but if they comply their sustainability reports using the GRI, we have a tool that says, okay, if you already make your sustainability reporting using the GRI, it would match 60 to 70% of the questions asked in the BIA, and vice versa. If let's say you are an aspiring company applying for B Corp certification, and upon your B Impact Assessment get certified, pass the rigorous process, your BIA implementation would translate into 60 to 70% match with the GRI. So it's a very complementary tools. Okay. So unfortunately, I could not answer directly to the C and S corporation. However, we are forging very, very active collaboration across platform sustainability initiative movement and so on and so forth. And answering about on whether they could certify, unfortunately, no. This for sure they have to score. They needed to use the B Impact Assessment, score certain points, and undergoes the rigorous process to get certified.
Very important points there, Yudi, because I think as we're seeing for the larger companies, per Mitchell's question, for the larger companies where public and government expectations will be towards increased disclosure, not just in the environmental space, but increasingly in the social space, making use of the B Impact Assessment can help companies prepare and develop capacity to where they're increasing transparency on measuring and managing their impact, not just for their own company performance. And Grace, want to go back to the competitive advantages that you pointed out to making use of this tool to improve your performance. It's not just the right thing to do, it's also good for business when we understand and improve our impacts on all stakeholders and redefine value creation. But in using this tool to do that, you're also preparing your company for public disclosure, including it in line with GRI standards and tools. So what I love about this, we're capitalists right here at the council. So we're all about efficiency, and we're all about market moving actions that we can take.
Yeah.
So our council platform, again, it's tied to the 4 sustainable value creation pillars, the UN SDGs, the B impact assessment tool, likewise, allows companies to understand and improve their impact along with the SDG Action Manager in line with the SDGs, but in ways that global regulators are going to be expecting companies to do more and be more, and increasing transparency on their impacts. If you could just scroll down a bit, and please, if you have colleagues, if you have any more questions, we have just a few more minutes before we'll look to wrap this. Okay, great. So these are the impact areas, and at the top you had government, workers, and community, and here we have environment, customers, and of course a disclosure questionnaire. So Yudi, for companies that are just getting started with the B impact assessment, where do they tend to have actions that they're already taking that would allow them to address and answer some of the questions in these areas? Does it tend to be in environment and customers that you see much of the early action of companies that are using the B impact assessment tool for the first time? Can you speak to that, and then also speak to, once they get started, where do you see, what impact areas do you see companies growing within, or growing towards as they make use of the tool?
Thank you, Meredith. Again, a lovely question. Have you done the BA before? Because I think you know a lot about this. Okay, so once a company started their BIA, it's random. I mean, they could pick whatever impact area that spoke to that business the most. For example, we have, fortunately in Indonesia, we have the largest carbon credit company in the world. And then they definitely attack the environment section first, head on. And we also have an education-based company. Definitely, they would target more on the customers and then reverse engineer the process. Okay, they have a list of what sustainable company does, and then how, whether they can see, okay, have they been on the right path, and then they could start from there. What is the carbon credit company you're referring to? It's called PT Rimba Makmur Utama. Sorry, let me again, because it's Indonesian. I know the company, so yeah, it's in my best interest to have them informed. Okay, let me type you the name of the company. Okay. Done. Okay, that is number one. What's the other question, Meredith? Sorry, I lost track.
It's quite all right. I wanted to understand what impact areas companies who are getting started tend to have actions that they're already taking that allow them to complete portions of those impact assessment areas. And then where, once they get started, where do you find companies tend to grow in terms of impact areas where they're looking to make progress?
Yeah. At our market, we definitely see the growth in the environment. You know, most company in ASEAN has just started to count their greenhouse gases, but we see, okay, fact number one is that not a lot of companies even measure their greenhouse gases, but you know, either they're inspired or they feel guilty. Many of these companies start taking action to offset their carbon, and we will definitely, there is the definite trend in our market. Okay, and the other one is about governance. Again, typically in ASEAN, diversity and inclusion is still on its infancy, but we see a growth of company, setting target, setting guidelines to have their management coming from diverse background. That is, at least those are the two impact areas that we see. But definitely we do handle some company in the US, and we see diversity, carbon offsets, community investment is on the rise.
Absolutely, Judy. And I think that's what we're seeing as well, that companies have had about 20 years to improve their impact on the environment and climate. That will continue to increase. But we're recognizing amongst our business members keen interest in understanding and improving their impact on community, on workers, and on good governance more broadly. But thanks so much to Yudi, to Grace, and to Lucy for sharing your time and expertise, and many thanks to all of you for joining on today's webinar. Just a few notes: we will be sharing the recording of the presentation portion of today's webinar, along with the list of resources and materials referenced by our speakers today for your onward learning and use. If you'd like to receive more information from BLab, please see the contact information that will be shared here in just a moment in our chat box. Also, at the Council, we welcome you to join us and share your actions that you're taking to improve your impact at inclusivecapitalism.com at whatever stage your organization is in your journey. We hope that you'll see the B Impact Assessment as a tool that can help you better understand and deepen your impact, and we're excited to share your actions here at the Council. Finally, please don't forget to complete a brief survey at the end of this this session using the link in our chat box. We're looking for what your needs are as the Council designs our programming for 2023. And also, we're excited next year as well. We will be offering more in-depth sessions for those of you that want to dive into use of the B Impact Assessment tool. We'll be welcoming our BLab colleagues back to give you in-depth how-to sessions to help you on your way. With thanks from all of us at the Council for Inclusive Capitalism, as well as BLab East Africa and BLab Southeast Asia, wishing you all a good evening and good day ahead. Thanks so much.